This week, we're asking why some games never really leave us. Years later, we can still remember the soundtrack, the ending, a single character, or even exactly where we were when we played them. So what makes certain games stick while others fade away? Before that, we'll be reviewing Nex Playground, reliving Black Ops 2, and introducing a brand new segment that could get us into trouble, Gamer Court. All this and more on this week's Pixel Parents podcast. Hello and welcome to the next episode of the Pixel Parents podcast. The show discusses all things gaming from the perspective of parents. I'm your host, Liam Kirk-Kelvin, and today I'm joined again by the veiled one, Alex. How are we doing, Alex?
Hello. Happy to be back. I'm not too bad. Surviving the heat just about. But
yeah.
We won't complain too much.
I feel like we kind of keep the spirit of Scott Curry alive by complaining about the weather. Like, it's kind of his thing, isn't it?
Right, no complaining. Let's kill the spirit. That's
lovely. It's lovely. Aye. No, I'm glad all is well, man. It has been an absolute swelterer. I was saying just before I started, I've somehow managed to land a cold. So go figure. I don't know how that happens, but yeah, kids and soft plays, just be wary.
Thankfully, I'm avoiding that. Even if the kids are going there, I'm not. So that's something at least. Although I did have to spend 4 hours in a train in the blistering heat the other day, and it wasn't even a nice train. It was like old diesely skanky trains where the aircon didn't really work, and it was sweaty. Let's put it that way.
Oh, there's nothing worse. I mean, I recently did the kilt walk for the first time this year, right? And it wasn't even the full one. It gets more shameful, Alex. And did like 14 miles or something. Never did anything like that in my Scooby. Dead chuffed. And then I get packed into the train to take us back towards Bar Headway. And I passed out in the train because of the heat. I couldn't take it. I panicked, my colleagues, everything. I was like, I'm fine. But it's a really good way to score a seat on a busy train. So if that ever happens to you, just remember my tip, just pass out and you'll be all right.
Somebody will give you a seat.
Aye, exactly. But the people there were very nice. They looked after me, gave me some Haribos and all that.
But just remember, it was like that episode of Still Game where they try to get to the front of the queue in the post office. So just to make sure somebody's not already done it.
Oh, the lights. Aye, no, it's a good move, man. Good move. But yeah, it's been a good week so far. I'm going to struggle my way through this. I'm going to be toggling mute on and off just to clear my throat. So please bear with me, everybody. But plenty of games. I feel like I've been gaming this week, Alex. Don't know about you. I have been gaming with a capital G.
Well, I'm glad you have. I mean, I've been gaming, but not with the capital G. I've unfortunately been working with the capital W usually. But I've still got a few things in, the wee bits and pieces in there, but not as much as I would have liked to have had.
Well, I look forward to hearing about it, but we're just going to get some housekeeping out the road then and we can start getting into things. But of course, for those old and new, this is the Pixel Parents podcast, which is a weekly gaming show by parents discussing all things gaming whilst raising little ones. And you can get new podcasts every Friday on YouTube, Spotify and Apple Podcasts. So please go subscribe to us on YouTube so you don't miss our tired faces. You can find us on Blue Sky at pixelparents.bsky.social or email us at pixelparentspodcast@gmail.com. Support the show for free at patreon.com/pixelparents. Go to Reddit, r/pixelparents. We're everywhere. Wherever you go, you'll get some bonus shows, community chat, and it'll always cost you £0. If you can, drop a wee 5-star review or share this podcast online with your friends. Whatever you do, it really does help us out. And of course, thank you to everybody that does join us each and every week. So, Alex, it has been a week of a lot of new games, old games, new old games. But I want to know, what have you been playing this week?
Unfortunately, no new old games, because my plan this week had been to be playing Assassin's Creed Black Flag. Did you bet? Assassin's Creed. I still can't say it. Assassin's Creed Black Flag Resynced.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I've still not managed to start that. But I have played some wee bits and pieces, old games and new old games to a certain extent, because I played, don't know, so I've been playing a wee racing game called 4PG. I'm going to get this 4PGP.
Okay.
It's a wee arcade racing game that came out on Steam and on the Switch. I was going to say first, and has recently come out as well on the PS5. And it's like a pixelated arcade F1 type game, but it's very arcadey, and like it's some of the lineage of it, like some of the designers and people who work it is like Sega Rally v Ridge Racer type people that have been involved by it. So it's got like some good pedigree to it, and it plays well to that. So you've got like it's just your classic arcade setup that you've got your Grand Prix type races. It's like 3 races, you need to win so many points. Like Mario, just like Mario Kart, really. Like that's like your time trials and all that. But it's got I think 5 or 6 different difficulty modes, like from novice all the way up, and then kind of main different. It's all work your way through, unlock different F1 cars, not real ones, but you can kind of allude to where they're going, that kind of thing. And then the key mechanic is not mechanic, but the little thing that's a wee bit different is their pit stops. So when you get to the end of each lap, you can do a pit stop, but it's not a pit stop. You just go into like this pit lane that's on the side of the start straight finish, and it almost becomes like an active reload type scenario where you just need to hit R1 at the right point to refill your boost gauge. So you got an amount of boost for a lap, and you can almost take the chance to refill it at each pit stop.
I like that,
kind of how you're going. So it's a lot of fun. So I played quite a wee bit of that, and I reckon if you like an arcade racing game, it's a good one. It's pretty cheap. I can't remember exactly how much it is, but it's certainly not any more than I think 15 quid. But it's that kind of ballpark. But I think it's now on Switch, PS5, and Steam. I don't think it's an Xbox yet, but I could be wrong. And then, as well as that, another one that was on Steam, which is now come to consoles. I don't know if you've heard of this one. It's called Hell Clock. Came out last year. Fairly high reviews, and it's a roguelike with a little bit of Survivors like to it almost, but a little bit of Diablo-esque control, and a little bit of Hades, and a little bit of it's a kind of wee isometric roguelike.
Pepperings.
Aye. Oh, just some nice wee bits for when you're in that kind of bit of gaming, but that kind of, you don't have a lot of time to go in and play loads of one big thing, but you can pick up for something for 10 minutes. And so it's isometric auto shooter to an extent. Well, it's not auto shooter, it's like Diablo that you can hold the button in and it keeps shooting, like rather than Vampire Survivors and all your weapons are going at one time.
Oh, yeah.
But you need to get, it's basically level based. So you need to get through all these levels, and it's like Hades in the fact that you're going deeper and deeper and deeper and deeper as you go, and unlocking more of the story with each run and that kind of thing. But again, very well made, very high produced. Cutscenes are very good, and I think it's probably gone a bit under the radar when it was Steam only for so long, but probably deserves a bit of praise because it is very good at what it does. I'm sure it was well into the 80s when it reviewed when it was come out. So another one, if you like that type of experience, it's worth looking at. And its difference is based on the Hell Clock. So you have, I think it's 60 seconds or something that you start with, and you need to get through all these different rooms. No, that's nonsense. I've been playing another game that's 60 seconds. I'll go back to that.
Okay, have you teased?
This one is I can't even remember what that one's called. But this one, I'm sure it's 5 or 6 minutes, and you need to get through as many levels as you can within those 6 minutes. So but the time will freeze, and you'll be able to upgrade the time and things like that. So it's the Hell Clock Takedown. So that's kind of been the main things for me. But I really wish I'd managed to play Black Flag Resynced like you have.
Yeah, I mean, that's a good segue. I mean, I'm still playing that. Still playing it. The Platinum run is underway. I just need to maximise my time, but I'm just so enjoying just hopping from island to island and clearing them and just moving on. You know, it's such a summer game. You know, that's probably the best way to do it. And it obviously it's had a wee facelift. We spoke about it last week.
Imagining that ocean spray on your face.
Indeed. Just you're there. You know, just right in the heart of the Caribbean. And it's it's just if you're partial to a good open world, then it's worth checking out. If you're new to the series, I still think it's worth checking out. There's a reason why it's heralded as like one of the best open world games ever, and it is just that sense of freedom, the exploration. I think it's just because it's all broken up into little islands effectively, and of course a wee shanty or two goes a long way. But no, I think I'll be playing that for a good while. I think, that's kind of been the main thing that I've been going to. But I've been hopping in between some other stuff. Got the Rogue in hand, and booted up Doom the Dark Ages Revelations DLC. And man, it's just so good to be back. Just all of this wonderfully mad Metal as All Hell series, and just loving ripping and tearing my way through the hordes of demons again before it crashes. That's the only thing. So playing it on the Rogue Ally, what I'm finding is that the game's routinely crashing every 20 minutes or so. Just a hard freeze, and you can like press the jump button or something like that, and you can hear it happening, but the screen is completely frozen up. So apparently it's a known issue with the drivers on the Rogue Ally, or with the game, should I say. So I'll just keep my eye on Reddit for a fix or a patch.
Well, let's hope to fix it quickly.
Yeah, I'm hoping so, because I'd managed to get through like the opening chapters, just kind of enduring the crashes before you're like, something's up here, I better go consult my friend Mr. Google. And yeah, it's there's something there. So there's lots of people having the same experience. And, it's been optimized. I think, Xbox, and they put out that update where it just automatically optimizes on the Rogue, so you don't have to fiddle a bit with settings. But this is me putting like CPU boost and putting it right up to about 25 watts, I think, as well. Just really pushing it to just try and get it to run. But even without that, I think on a 20 watts performance, it was pretty decent. And it was, again, just more Doom. That's not a bad thing. Not a bad thing at all. But that wasn't the headline shooter for me this week, Alex, of course. I did return. So after we recorded last week, a wonderful gift dropped out of nowhere, and that is Call of Duty Black Ops and Black Ops 2. The ports were added to PlayStation. I know. But I have to say, your old dad's back, and I'll tell you why. Because everybody has a Call of Duty that they're probably most familiar with, whether you played it a lot or not, just a little bit. Black Ops 2.
Not everybody, Liam.
Oh, come on, you must have one. You must have dipped your toe at some point.
I think I played. What was the one that came out at the launch of the Xbox 360? Was that 3?
Yes, it was Call of Duty 3.
I think that was probably my limit.
Oh, so you never got which got the dopamine hits of Modern Warfare and all that in you back in the day? Stay away. It's not a good habit to have.
As I like to refer to these games as shooty, shite.
Yeah, no, there's no denying it does what it says in the tin. But
that was always my when we would do cross button VR. It was like when Reese would start talking about shooting games. That was how I would like to refer to them. I'm like, you take your shooting shite over there, pal.
Aye. No, I mean it's the shame that we come to bear, because I'm partial to it, and that was the one for me. Like, I've probably played every Call of Duty since 4, and who knows if I'll continue this year, because Black Ops 2's there. I've always said that was my one. That was the only one that I had Prestige Master in back in the day, in those final days of university. Scott was also there. It was sweaty. I think we put in way too many hours into it, but that was just the hangout, and it was an obsession, and it was great just going back to it. However, man, was it humbling. I was getting my ass handed to me. And it's just little things. You become so used to the modern ones with all the kind of agile, the omni movement and the agility that you have. Going back to just straight up old school Call of Duty, it's a bit of a rush. But then I figured out the community it wasn't just me. I was thinking, am I old? Is this it? Is this the moment that I retire? Apparently it's something to do with the settings on there, and I'll share now. So if you're experiencing any type of lag, the tips are, go download the PS4 version if you're on PlayStation like I, and you need to change your display settings to 1080p apparently, and then also change your preferences to performance. After that, Unk gaming has never been better, to be honest with you. Like, it's been good just kind of going in for a couple of rounds, and for me, it's just been a really nice nostalgia trip. It's not I'm not going to Prestige Master this, but it's also that thing where I'm like, if I want that fix, that's there now. I don't need to just keep going back to the well, with Modern Warfare 4 on the horizon and stuff. We shall see, but I do enjoy it. I don't know if it's the if it's the drummer in me or something like that, where I'm very much just like, I like that constant feedback and just that Twitch-based shooting, but it's been a good laugh. Would I recommend people pick it up and buy? If you're kind of partially interested, I would take advantage of the discount that's on PlayStation just now if you've got PS Plus, because after that, I wouldn't pay the full price for it. You know, it's just not worth that because there's absolutely no improvements at all. It's literally just, yep,
Give
we've
me
just,
your money.
yeah, there's drag and dropped it into the PS5 folder. That's all they've did. You know, just like, there we go, job done, lads. But yeah, it's been fun. You know, I keep trying to get Scott on just for old time's sake, but he's still in the throes of nappies. He's doing well. But yeah, it's something that I'm looking forward to, just kind of dipping a toe in and just interesting looking at it going, I used to be really good at this and now I'm terrible. And that's quite an interesting thought, you know, just that reckoning and that feeling of, I am that person that when I was playing it all those years ago, it's like, why is that old guy on this lobby type thing? And I am now that old guy. So that's what it is. But yeah, it's been good fun, man. But that's not been the main thing. So I mean, we've spent plenty of time, Alex, talking about the games for us this week. But this week and over the past couple of weeks, I've been trying something aimed at getting the whole family involved, and that's the Nex Playground, which is a very different proposition from your Call of Duties. So I've went hands-on with it. I've got my notes here, right, so I'm a bit too wax lyrical about this thing, but are you familiar with the Nex Playground, Alex?
Well, I know what it is in terms of, I remember like this was the little box that basically outsold everything in Black Friday in America last year, wasn't it? And it's essentially like connecting a box, really, isn't it? Is that
effectively
fair?
Yes, it is very fair. What I'll say, I'll start by saying we got the unit kindly sent to us by the team over at Nex, so thank you for that, for review. But what is it? I suppose, to put simply, as you've said, if you're familiar with Kinect, you'll know what this is. But it's a motion control console. So what its big goal is just trying to encourage active play in the living room. So no controllers are needed. It just uses this wide camera and it can pick up to 4 players in your living room. And you are effectively the controller, the pitch that you had with Kinect. So anybody that remembers that will get the gist immediately. But it's also like devilishly small. So the cube itself is like 3 inches by 3 inches. It's tiny. And you just simply plug in and play and off you go. So it's very aesthetically pleasing, I will say. So it did pass the living room test.
Because it's nice little colours as well, isn't it? Like,
yeah.
Is it not like kind of pastel green and yellow or something? Or?
Yeah, I've got the box here. I don't know if you can see that. Yeah, so the box there, so you can kind of see that pastel green and yellow type colour on it, and it's toty.
Can we mini Series S in the bottom?
That's kind of this for size, you know. I don't know. Next to my head, there you go. The box is very aesthetically pleasing, which is good. So if you're ever wondering, do I need another thing to add into the setup? Get away with it.
We know the answer is always yes to that question anyway.
Very true, very true. I mean, I'm not one to hide things. It's just like, put it there. Yep, that PS5 looks like an air conditioning unit. It's just going to stand there.
Just a shame it hasn't been in this way.
I know. I'd take that, man. Just run it all day. But yeah, in general, to kick things off, I'd say I have just been so impressed by this little wonder cube, as I'm calling it. You know, the initial expectation, of course, is that can it be a hit for the kids? And can the family join in? The answer is a very obvious and resounding yes. It's something that hasn't just only impressed myself coming away, but the other kids and the adults in the house who have been around it as well. So everybody is just integrated so quickly and so well into day-to-day life. I can't help but be stunned by it. And it's also the case for people that have came over to the house. I've had my sister and my nieces over, and it was immediately like, what is this thing? How can I get one? And it's just immediately, you know, all the kids are varying ages between like 4 all the way up to 9. And, you know, there was like 5 of them all around it, and it didn't, you know, overload itself. Like the kids will be kids with it, get right up and close to the camera and stuff like that and start doing wacky stuff. And I'm like, take a step back, I'll see you better. But it doesn't buckle under that. So it's 100% it knows its audience. Now, that's kind of like a lot in the console and the overview. It's the games, I suppose, people will be curious about, you know. So the games, of course, the main attraction here. So you have this thing called Play Pass, right? And there's a suite of over 50 games that are currently available with that just now, and there's more being added. They've kind of got like a roadmap on their website. More on that in a bit.
I'm sure like at the Sonic anniversary stream or something, even they announced a Sonic game that coming to it.
Yeah.
I'm pretty sure, didn't they? So
that's right. So I mean, they're constantly looking to add more and more into it. But out the box, when you buy this thing, you'll get 5 free games with it, including the likes of Fruit Ninja. So we'll all remember that from the early touchscreen device days. So the games are all just very simple and very fun. There's some recognisable IP. You mentioned Sonic there, but there's like Kung Fu Panda, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, and even Barbie, which is a really great selection of variety. There you go. That's all we need.
I just need to be in with Barbie, and that's it.
Just test your dance moves with Barbie. That's the main thing to do.
I used to love Dance Central back in the day on the Kinect. So I mean, I'm a sucker for this kind of stuff anyway. So all you're doing is selling it for me. Like.
You're going to be a pro, and let's see when I get to the end of the review if you're still sold, right? Hopefully, but I would say really good selection and variety between like action, between puzzle, sports, party games, and it's kind of all nice and broken up on the menu. Well, I would say my kids just blasted through them. I said, look, you guys are going to help me review this. So I want you to play everything. And they're kind of like, okay. So it's like, what's the catch, big man? It's like, no, just play everything. Let me know. And the favourites are definitely Kung Fu Panda, baseball, and this little gallery effects that's on it. Just like playing for hours on that, just like, like a carnival mirror and all that, just doing wacky daft things. It's got that all kind of built into it, which is good fun. I must confess, like, I used to play baseball as a kid. So getting to sit with my son and show him how to hit home runs, and there's this really cool anime-inspired baseball game in it, and it kind of, you can play online with other people, but it hides the kid's identity, and like you can't like do gamer tags on it, just assigns a name for you. So you're just playing as the avatar. I might have trounced this poor child at some other part of the globe, like 15 home runs in a row. Shocking. I know, but what can I say? I'm a bad man, but I'm good at baseball.
I bet you took that W as well. I bet you were very much like, oh, I'm so good.
I did. I'm not proud of it, but I was like, I might be Ken Griffey Jr. Watch this son, Jose Canseco. But yeah, I was very much like getting addicted to those ones, and it's good because you can play it side by side. But that being said, I think, the way to access all these games, like I said, is through the Play Pass, right? Now, for the review, I was provided with access, full disclosure. However, I would flag that you need to get that to play the games outside the 5 games, right? So when you're buying it, think of it almost like you're buying a game for a PlayStation 5 or something, right? So the 12-month pass is £90 and it's £45 for a 3-month pass. So that's something to consider for anybody out there listening. But given the cost of, say, like a PlayStation 5 game, you could either get the family one of them, or you could get a year's worth of access to all these games for over 50 of them, should I say. So I do think it's a good value for money. I think the 12-month option does make the most sense, just given the value and the volume of games you get in it. But it's something I just thought it's worth flagging, because I don't know why I was kind of half expecting it. You kind of go in and just, like any other console, buy things a la carte. It's kind of more on the Play Pass system that you kind of need to subscribe to. So that's something just to flag.
Can you not buy the games individually? You just need to get the Play Pass.
Yeah.
Right, okay.
So, but the good thing is particularly for their audience, with the kids, if they see everything there, it's like, I want to play this, I want to play that. But just having that suite, and I think now kids are so used to like Netflix and all that type of stuff that they're so used to just having a full catalogue. So right off the bat, you have that, you just put in the code and you're away. And that's really it. It's dead simple. But ultimately, this is something that's aimed at younger gamers, children, but also families. Is it fun for the kids? Yes, like overwhelmingly. I'd say it's like this Nex Playground. It's a wonderful gaming addition to any family home. The thing just works. The kids instantly get it. Since setting it up, my son can get right into what he wants to play, and it's just been a perfect way to keep them moving and burn off all that extra energy, summer holidays and stuff, particularly when there was rain. We used to have that in this country, rain. It's now just sun. But, it's impressively responsive for something so small as well. That camera, it just feels intuitive to pick up. The kids are going to shuffle from like position to position. It's not like us playing it as an adult. It's like, this is my side. This is where the camera's picked me up. If you didn't like my son, he's going to dart back and forth and change it. It picks you up so well. It doesn't like kind of buckle underneath that. So I would say that it definitely has been tailored around that. you can tell that it's been built with the behaviour of kids in mind. Biggest compliment I can give is that I just can't see the living room without it now. I can just see it being one of those ubiquitous additions across the board. Very much like coming back to like the Kinect and your Wii and stuff like that back in the day. I mean, for the adults here, ease of use, it couldn't have been more simple, if I'm honest. Like, you plug in the power lead, your HDMI, and you turn it on. And it comes with a stinky, cute wee remote with a nice, smooth plastic feel. It's just got a simple circle, enter, and a home and a back button. Dead simple. And you turn it off, you hold the home button. And it just has a wee screen cap attached to the camera as well. So that's onto the lead. And you can even just put that wee screen cap on when you're finished playing. So if you're worried about privacy, because it is a camera, it doesn't record anything. But I did appreciate the fact that there might be some people, maybe there's non-gamers in your home or gamers who are just a little bit paranoid about that stuff. I thought, that's good. And it's a great touch just given a target audience, because it is aimed at kids at the end of the day. But ease of use wise, the fact that my son knew how to work this in about 30 seconds, it just shows how simple it is. He can self-direct play on it, which is amazing. So big thumbs up on that. But a big thing that I was really excited to test with this one, Alex, and from my family perspective, is just how my daughter could interact. For my daughter has autism and some learning difficulties as well. So I think, sorry, I've said that wrong. Intellectual disabilities, sorry. And I'm absolutely delighted to say it has opened the door for family gaming with her as well. So she can take part. And she has a lot of fun doing it as well. I mentioned like the Barbie game. She absolutely loves Barbie, so it was great. Good stuff to kind of get her involved in that. But the fact that this has a lack of controller and the simplicity in the game style and the activity, she can play. And, that means a lot to me. It means a lot to my family, but I think there'll be many other families like mine the same. Like, I think it's something to consider if you're a parent and your kid is neurodiverse or has other needs. Like in our case, it's the fine motor skills. That's why like my daughter wouldn't be able to like pick up a controller and play. It would probably be meltdown city at that point, to be honest, and we have tried that before with another Barbie game on the Switch. It did not go well, but in this case it's great, and it's also more important as well for keeping her active as well. And the fact just seeing her and my brother and just seeing my wife and myself, we can just all play as a family. Something that was out of reach is now very much firmly in reach. And I think that's something for other families that may have specific needs in that regard, it's something I would recommend, because it is, and I know it's difficult because every child's needs is very, very different. And that, but it's always something to consider. But I think big thumbs up on that. But the way that this wee cube has just commanded the living room, it just took me right back to the boom of motion gaming, as I talked about. It's come a long way, but it's kind of like a marriage of all the fun of the Wii with the promise of the Kinect kind of born anew. So it's, for me, it feels like this is, wholeheartedly say it's a must-have family gaming console. I do look forward to what's to come next in terms of the games. It's a machine that I'm going to continue to recommend to all the fellow family gamers out there. And it's something for the old and the young to come together and play, And for that, I'm I don't like giving machines and hardware a score, but for the sake of tying this up, I'd say I'll give it a good solid 9 out of 10 on your scale.
That's
Alex.
Impressive.
Yeah.
Itself.
I did say, is it something that you'd be interested in more so after hearing me wax lyrical, or if I put you off it?
No, I mean, in terms of it's something that I have actually spoken to my husband about around for our son, because there's just some things where for some of his needs it could be beneficial. And I'm definitely interested in trying it out, because I think he'd love it. And I mean, I think we'd love it together. And even like my husband's not really a gamer, but it's the kind of thing he would join in with as well. So it's definitely piqued my interest.
Yeah, so glad to. If you do take the plunge, let me know, because it's always good to kind of hear stories about who's the best in the living room. But there's other things like, you say that. I mean, like, you just never know. How good is your bowling skills? That's the question we're going to find out. But it's not quite Wii bowling. There's a little bit more nuance to the bowling in this, I would say. So I was kind of rocked up there thinking, watch this. And it's like, I'm not
at least you get no controller to let go of and smash TV.
Exactly.
I was always the best at the dancing ones, though. I've got cribbed out of them. don't really.
Yeah. I'll play the music for you. I'll do that, but dancing, not my strong point. I am a self-proclaimed dad dancer. It's just that, proper, that wee jog up to the dance floor. It's like what anybody that crosses a road in Britain, they jog at the start and then they walk at the end. I can't quite describe it. That's my dance move, to be fair. But yeah, it's like I says, if anybody out there's got one, or if they're interested, let us know in the comments. Just be intrigued to hear how anybody else got on with that, because it feels very pertinent to our audience here. But yeah, I digress. I think we should move on. And before I do, move on to the main topic. If you do enjoy the show and you want to support us, you can, and it won't cost you a cent. Now, just join our free Patreon community. Visit patreon.com/pixelparents. Get all the show's chats and all the wee bits in between for free all the time. And if you can, go subscribe to us on YouTube, youtube.com/@pixelparentspodcast, where there's lots of extra wee goodies floating up there for you as well. Now, Alex, main topic time. I'm going to hand over to you, give my voice of this, because everybody would be bored of listening to my dulcet tones.
I just keep talking, that's fine.
I know. But the main topic this week is, why do some games stay with us? There's certain games that never really leave you. Years later, you're still quoting them, humming the soundtrack, or remembering exactly why you played them. So, for you to kick things off, what actually makes a game stick with you?
See, I always think for me it's situational. Like it's that kind of thing. Like when I think back to some of my favourite games, like where like my gaming taste came from, it's like I remember Tetris from the fact of just my dad used to work away when I was young, and he came back one time and handed me a Game Boy with Tetris, and
Nice.
That was just from that moment on. That was it.
Yeah.
And that was the thing, and it's almost more around the situation of the game. This one was ridiculous, but it's even like things like Super Mario Bros. 3, and I remember vividly going and buying that game and playing it over and over again because I screwed my parents out of buying me it by agreeing not to go on holiday with them if they bought me that game and left me with my gran for the weekend.
Wow,
And I'm like,
okay.
well, if I won't come and spoil your weekend if you buy me this, so I stay with my gran because I was supposed to be going, and they were like, bit my hand off. Like,
Wow.
it's all these kind of random wee things and memories that can appeal together. And it's not so much. I mean, obviously there will be certain things in the games depending on, like, there's bits of stories in games that just kind of resonate with you, and that was one of the things I had with Because Like a Dragon, and I don't know if that was kind of where I got to, as you get later and later on in that story, in some of Ichiban's story, and it wasn't like it was back to back of all that was like me, but you can sometimes just resonate so much with something that's going on in your life at the same time that it just hits you, and then you always remember like that wee bit of that game, and it.
Yeah.
But I think it's always some form of kind of situation or resonation that just gets you there. I never think it's about the game itself. I think it's just more of the synergy of you and the game.
Yeah.
That seems a wee bit over the top, but you know what I mean.
No, I don't think it's over the top at all, man. I think it's you're absolutely bang on. Like I've kind of chunked this up, right? So I'm going to kind of start with exactly what you said there, which is it's all about the favourite memories, and it is. It's like something intrinsically linked to a place and time, and for whatever reason, that's a perfectly like top reason why it would stay with you. I mean, I'm thinking about like playground moments. As a kid, Pokemon. Did you know that you could find you underneath the truck? Before the SSR and that type of stuff, and you go and search it, and wee bits like that, or sleepovers. I remember like I stayed overnight a lot at my cousin's house, and just memories of Oddworld, just playing that till like 3-4 in the morning. And I used to be I was the one that wanted my bed. Like, I've always been the same, but my cousin would be up there and he would absolutely blast through it. And it's probably kind of where I started my love of watching people playing video games as well. So I was like, I'm perfectly happy doing this. And I picked the game up and you just try to recreate that all the time. And then you kind of, as you said, you get older. I remember things like playing Metal Gear Solid 2 for the first time. And it was that moment in your house, you're like, wow, like this is real. That and the Spider-Man, the movie, the Tobey Maguire one on PlayStation 2. It's like, I have this in my house. Look how good that looks on my little tiny box CRT television, but And then, like I mentioned at the start, Call of Duty late nights, the daft patter, just sitting there, trying to play games, whilst drunk, suppose as well, because I was at uni. But there's other ones like the quieter moments. Yeah, bang on. Like, I have a Game Boy story for you, right, in terms of favourite memories, but one, I'll start with that, because then the next one's emotional, right? But the Game Boy one for me was a surprise Christmas present from my auntie on Christmas Day, of course. It wouldn't have been Easter. And but I wasn't expecting it at all. And it was a big brick Game Boy, OG one, but it was
The
yellow.
classic.
And it was Bomberman and Super Mario World 2, I think it was. Yeah, Super Mario World 2 and the golden
6
coins.
golden coins, yeah.
Yeah. As you
That
get
one?
older, yes, that's it. That's the one. But it's that way, as you get older and you can see people go through Mario lists and all like that, it's not the best. I'm like, but I love that game.
Doesn't matter if it's the best, that's the thing with these. Like, it does not matter how good or how bad they were, that is there, how good did you remember in your heads?
Yeah, I played that to death, man, like constantly, and I loved that game. And the Game Boy, like, all of us will have so many fond memories of that, and they stick with you, that whole catalogue. And I suppose that's why the nostalgia then comes out and we buy Lego Game Boys and stuff like that, But it's like, that's why we do it, because it means so much to us. And like emotional hitters, for whatever reason, but I think you're absolutely, you've struck the nerve there, bang on. Like, it's where you are in life.
Yeah.
And I remember like playing Celeste. Like, that's one that will always stick with me, because it was at that point where you were just starting to realise, like, actually this game's talking to you in a sense that it's okay to just kind of stop, and if you fail, just keep going again. That's fine. Like, basically try to recognise that in yourself. And at that point in time, I had just become a dad as well. And I would probably, it sounds daft sitting playing this cutesy wee game like Celeste, and it's like, and it just gets you thinking. And it stays with you, and that's why that'll always be one of my favourite games ever, But and it's not really as simple as like, well, the mechanics and this and that does matter, but the memory part, there's something there that does resonate with people. Every single one of us is going to like something. They like a game that's probably got a Metacritic of like 60 or 70 or something like that, but to them it's like, no, but I loved that game, like Spider-Man on the PS2. Yeah, it's not quite Insomniac, it's not quite, the Spider-Man 2, but it was special for that reason, because it hit at that right time,
As I say, kind of similar kind of things when you go back to like the Lord of the Rings games of that point, like the EA games, like your Two Towers and Return of the Kings, which I have such fond memories of, because like I don't think people now realise how big Lord of the Rings was when it came out and when we were younger. Because remember, like when the first one came out, you were going on your school trips to see these films, and you were and it was like everywhere, and it was all consuming, and there was never anything quite this. And the film like this had never won all these Oscars, and it was. And then the games where you were getting, it was that point when you were getting all these like movie tie-in games that were all pish, but these ones were good. And it was, you were just like getting like, oh my God, I can't believe you can do this in a game. And you're like,
so good, man. Like, I can remember getting the button presses just down just right. And was it Isildur's Swift header and stuff like that, left, right, and then straight down the bottom. I can remember it so well. Like, and it is like, I used to play them a lot with my other cousin. I would go through to Edinburgh every weekend. That's where like my dad and his side of the family's from, and just hang about there. And it was Lord of the Rings daft. It was sitting playing the games, and it was just that immersion. And you're right, Chris, that's actually a really good one to point out, because movie games weren't supposed to be good.
no,
like, you just accepted it though, because you were so like high on whatever IP it was, and it's like, I just want to re-experience that. And the worst offenders were superhero movie games, because it's like, yep, that's the main villain in the movie, but here's another 10 that will never ever see the light of day on the big screen, but we'll just stuff them in there anyway. And it's
but it was even like that at that point in that, and I know we're kind of digressing for the main topic, but like you used to get a movie tie-in game for everything.
Yeah,
like it would be any shite movie, and like I'm not shite, not even shite movie. That's unfair, but like you would just reskin this game over and over again just to fit a movie, and like you've got all these Toy Story games, and you'd even get things like Stuart Little and all that. I'm sure, like
Yeah, yeah.
really random movie games, and I know you still kind of get that to an extent, but I wouldn't say anywhere near what they used to pump out.
No, I know. And it was always like the different formats. You'd have like PS2 is the best, but there's also a Game Boy Advance version, and we know it's terrible, but let's
You
stick
can
it out
still
there
get it.
anyway. And you would just try and experience it, PSP, all the rest of it. And
Yeah,
you're right. I mean, I do think we lost something there. Like, I still wouldn't say no to it still perplexes me, and I know why, because the business of video games changed. But we managed to get like through the most of the MCU when that trend had kicked in. Obviously, we had the Iron Man, the Incredible Hulk game, and the Thor games. Captain America didn't really do well, the Sega ones, but they weren't bad. And I'm like, could you imagine if we got like a Infinity War game or something like that? But I know they've taken it a different direction and the quality's
I mean,
arguably
you try
better,
to
but
say that Avengers did they do it for you?
yeah, not quite. I actually went back and re-downloaded that last year at one point. Like, it was like going to an empty theme park. It was such a weird vibe, man. But
Yeah,
I enjoyed it for what it was, right? But I still would have liked that whole. That was the reason. Like, if they did a movie tie-in game of that, it would still be here today. Guarantee
just do
that.
it in Lego.
True, true. Yeah, the Lego games are fun, to be fair. But I mean, I suppose there's lots of reasons why games can stay with us. I think top of the tree, memories, but there's
Yeah,
parts of games that can make memories, right, Alex? So I've chunked this up, and I'm going to start with these little categories right? But first one up here, music, right, which does have a huge role to play because it does take you back to that moment in time, and it can encapsulate how you felt and leave an imprint. I think the studies on that as well. Like, they do a lot with music and like dementia and Alzheimer's and stuff like that, how it can actually kind of bring people back, albeit
yeah.
for a fleeting moment. But I think music, I don't know if there's any ones that springs to mind and just like ones that's the reason why you cherish them.
I mean, I suppose like things like Ori,
Yeah.
because I mean that was one of the games that brought me back into playing
Mm.
games, and I think it's just from the whole experience and emotion that that game brought out, and a lot of that did come from the score. Like it's just a beautiful game all
Yeah.
round, and that's probably one that does jump straight out there. But then even does it like when you then think of more stuff like, I mean, I know people talk about GTAs, but like when you get back to like your Tony Hawks and all that, and your Crazy
Yeah.
Taxis,
Yeah.
and like they're just some classics for the more, not so much from that kind of emotional side, but just some games just had an absolutely banging
Yeah.
soundtrack that was your youth. So
Yeah.
like everyone thinks that Offspring song when you think of Crazy Taxi, because that was
Mm-hmm.
just how that game went, and it was just batshit. Like it was so good, and I'm really looking forward to playing it again. Like, but
Yeah.
yeah,
I mean, you're
there's
right.
a different spectrum of that as well. But
It's
so
true. Like
probably
a good
Ori.
Ori, the top, yeah. I mean, I was thinking to myself, like, more recently, like, Expedition 33 nailed it out of the
Hmm.
park because it's like, you can just tell, like, that was a special soundtrack and it's very emotive, and it does make you feel something with all to be said to. But I thought, like, right, you know, of course we've got Zelda with all those kind of musical signatures that it has, Skyrim, Halo, all the easy ones. And I thought, what about, like, Doom? Doom
Yeah.
2016, like Mick Gordon, like what you did with that, like that is, even the Doom Eternal soundtrack is one that I will play on Spotify. Well, I used to be able to before it got taken off. Need to do it on YouTube now, but that's exhilarating. If I'm sitting locking in work, I'll put on soundtracks like that just to kind of keep me going because there's nobody singing, obviously. But Celeste again, you mentioned it there, GTA 5, but not for the soundtrack. It was actually the score, which
Yeah.
was with Tangerine Dream. And this is going to sound really weird, but the thing that still, I will listen to it on Spotify, but the one that still like kind of makes me feel the same way I did when I booted that game up is the pause menu music. Like, I could just sit and leave that on pause.
It's
And
like the Halo screen.
yeah, yeah. In fact, absolutely. Bang on.
Yeah.
Like, it does something to you. You're
Hmm.
like,
It's just
oh
brings
man.
chills, doesn't it? Like
Yeah.
because didn't they do Xbox did recently? They just basically put a 6 hour video or something of the remastered or the whatever it's called screen, like for 6 hours of the pause screen just to put the music in. Yeah.
And it's like, it's definitely something that, like, music's vital. I think last year we went to that PlayStation concert, right? And it was great. They should have did more. But it was just, it emphasises, like, it's such a huge thing because it does take you back, and there's other parts to games as well, though, not just the music, and I think going into the more obvious territory, I kind of thought to myself, is it endings with narratives, or is it the characters, or is it them both together? Is it something that we look at separately, or is it something that, you can't have a good ending without good characters, that type of thing, but they stick with you?
And that's where it kind of takes me back to like a Dragon, because I mean, that's a kind of series I never ever thought I would like, but I still to this day will say Ishiban Kasuga is the best character in a video game. Like, he's just so well written, so funny, so memorable.
Mm-hmm.
And I think that's something that whole series does really well. For all it's absolutely crazy, like some of the stories it then tells, the characters are just so heartfelt, and they generally nail the landing. Like, and I don't think you can nail the landing if you've not got a well thought out character.
Absolutely, and
well developed.
It's not an easy thing to do when you think about it. Like, you can have like a really good character, and the ending just kind of leaves you a bit unfulfilled, and you just want more of the character. But when those two hit together, that will stay with you, and you'll probably go back and replay it. I mean, I don't even big massive games like a Dragon, for example, but you're going to replay that game at some point, just to go through it again, just to experience that moment. I know YouTube
I could
exists.
take some of the dungeons out of it and just play the story, but yeah.
I know. It's like, I kind of look at it the same way like I would enjoy prog rock. Like, it's not so much like, I could skip through Dark Side of the Moon to get to, that really good bit that I like in the middle, or I could just listen to the full thing and kind of earn it a little bit. Maybe it's just a personal choice thing, but for me, it's like the characters and the endings are intrinsically linked. The endings, let's say, is not easy to do. But see, when I think about things like, you've got obvious ones like Bioshock, right? If you're just going to do the ending, but I'm like, what about things like The Last of Us and Joel and Ellie, for example? Like, that ending in the first game, that just kind of still to this day creates so much discussion and almost very ambiguous kind of ending as well. I won't say, don't really know if I should spoil it, so I'll just kind of move on. It's been long enough.
Spoil it these days, can you?
I know. There's a TV show and everything, but like Red Dead Redemption 2, I know you're not a fan, but it's like Arthur Morgan is one of the most well fleshed out and brilliantly realised characters with so much nuance, and every time I go back and replay that game, there's little things that I don't pick up and little small emotional beats, and you're like, he's almost like, he gets a lot of praise, right? I'm not going to say underappreciated, but he's almost like there's a lot of things that go missed in that performance. Like, you get the broad strokes of what he's doing and stuff, but I still love kind of seeing video essays and stuff like that to kind of like, did you notice this moment? Did you notice that? And it was really cool. I mean, the other obvious ones, like, they can redo it. Kratos, for example, God of War. But even I even thought back to like Mass Effect 2, like with the suicide mission and that complete cast of characters that you've kind of bonded with, for bonding in very different levels as well, depends who you liked and who you didn't. And that suicide mission, and is completely in your hands. Like, I don't know if you're a fan of Mass Effect, Alex?
I've never played Mass Effect. It's one of those ones that's been installed to play. That it's on the list. I'm in that wee period where I'm like getting through. Like, I never thought I'd finally get through Final Fantasy. Which is another one there when we're talking about characters, which was what really made me get through it this time, was like getting to know the characters in Remake. But yeah,
I think you would love
Mass Effect.
You'd love Mass Effect. And I think, honestly, like, there'll be some Mass Effect fans who might be listening saying this is sacrilege, but just start with 2 and just treat the first one like a prequel, because the first one's excellent, but the 2 is the highlight, and I love 3 as well, but it's the way that they just nailed everything in terms of the rhythm, the characters, and it will stay with you. It will stay with you, because my ending won't be the same as yours. you know, so that's the beauty of it. So I haven't spoiled anything in that regard.
It was
but
in that period I didn't play games. I think that was a
yes,
kind of bit. So yeah.
how long was that period for? Would you say?
It was a good six. I mean, it always had the console, but there was just a period where
Yeah,
it just never ever got used. But it was probably a good 6 or 7 years,
yeah,
if not longer.
Yeah, I
Like,
mean, there was a lot of classics then, for sure, for about that time period in the 2010s, you know, and before 2010s, I imagine. But it's so much classics to go into, man. Like, that's definitely should be top of the list. I suppose even like, did you bypass the Nathan Drake era then?
yes, but I have started
Yeah.
working through that. So I have at least I've dipped my toe in there. I'm not all the way through, but I am making progress.
Excellent, excellent. I mean, Uncharted 4 is up there for me in terms of why it sticks with you. I'm not going to say why, obviously, but there's other daft ones like Arkham City stays with me. Because, see, when I got that game, right, I think I've said it before, but I beat that in one sitting. Like, I got it delivered, I took the day off work because I had nothing else to do with my life. And I sat 9 o'clock, it got delivered, roughly, and beat that. Just sat, I think it was 7 o'clock in the evening, I finished it. And I'll still go back and replay it. And that's probably the next one, that we segue into that. But it's replayability. You know, you mentioned Tetris, and obviously you had the memories attached to it, but I think that's another thing why other games stay with you, because they won't let you go.
Yeah,
It's like
absolutely.
an itch that you can't scratch unless you play it.
Because I mean, it's whether it is like I'll still play old school Tetris and whatever version of Tetris that I can, but
Yeah,
it's even things like even older than that. It's like Centipede on the Atari was one of those when we used to go to like a local pub for like lunch or whatever, they had the
yeah,
games room and that was one of the arcade units that was in the games room. And I
nice.
just loved going and playing Centipede, and then I had an Atari to play it on it. And then I got it for these things behind me, and then I'm just like, you just have
Mm.
that, and it's replayability, and it's almost that kind of type of game where it's a score attack and a classic, like one just you can just get better and better and better at it, and you
Aye.
know what you're doing, and it's kind of brings in the music side of it as well, because there's no more iconic music than that Tetris music when it starts
Yeah.
going in and getting faster and faster and faster and faster, and you're panicking. To even then extent when Tetris 99 came out,
Mhm.
and then which I'll still play all the time, and I've only still ever won once. I don't think I'll ever do it again, but I've only ever got one. And I'm
So
like,
all you need, man.
no,
Just get in the
this
board.
is in my stats. It says wins one. It's there. I
Yeah.
can prove it. I did it. But yeah, there is. But it's even things like come back to Mario 3. Like every so often, I'll just want to play that game again.
Yeah.
Or
Yeah.
you just because they stand the test of time.
Mm-hmm.
And there's many games that you could think about playing over again, and you would try, and you just. I mean, I'm sorry, but I'm not going to play Mario 64 again, no matter how many times
Yeah.
you want me to try and play it, because it's not a fun experience. Like,
No,
it's
really
just
not.
not. But yeah, it's that whole you want to play it and you can play it to an extent because it just holds up.
Yeah, it's true. Like, there's some games that are probably best left in the memory and they can still stay with you without replaying. But for the ones that you do, I mean, I had the thought of a confession, Alex, right? But I had a thought about like Marvel Snap, right? I thought that game is going to stay
You've not
with me.
relapsed, have you?
I did. Just one game. No, but I did get curious because it popped up on my phone. It's still there. So I thought, I'm just going to boot it up. I was in between stuff in the house. I had like, let's say I've got long weekends all throughout the month. So it's just a nice chill Friday. I thought, I'll boot up Marvel Snap. It was a mess. Like, laggy. I didn't even finish the round. I just turned it off. I was like, I'm over this. I think that was almost like the test. And I was very much like, it made me sad. But what will stay with me was when it was in its pomp. And it wasn't a mess. And it was exciting. And I enjoyed the meta and the sweat and all the rest of it that came with it. Because it was something I could carry in my pocket. And that was like the apex of replayability.
Yeah.
Now I don't need that because I've got Balatro in my pocket if I want to do something like that, you know. But there's other like daft ones, right? You thought about replayability. Do you remember like Snake on the old Nokia phones as well?
Can I beat it? So you could still take a Nokia phone and just still play that. You'd be like, takes me back to like the common room at school, like 6 year at school, like because I'm a wee bit older than you guys, and you're like,
you're just slightly older than I, but Scott will probably emphasise that point more. You slag both of us.
But yeah, it was like, so we were still in the kind of, I mean, when I was in 6 year at school, it was still the kind of early days of everybody having mobile phones. It hadn't quite, the iPhone wasn't a thing yet, and it was the height of the 3210s, the 3310s, the 30, whatever it was after that, 3560s or whatever they were, and Nokia was the thing to have because you had to have Snake.
Yeah,
and you were all just sitting there going, "Oh, Giza shot your phone, Giza shot your phone," and having Snake competitions to see who could get it all the way down the screen. And you were going up, down, and you can still hear it going. And you're like, "Yeah," I'm like, "Yeah, absolutely." You're so right.
It did feel like a moment the first time I laid eyes on Snake 2. I remember I used to always have to steal. I always had to steal my mum's phone to play Snake. She had a Nokia, and I didn't have one, and I just always steal that and. Well, not steal it. She was in the house. But then when I got a 3310 and then it was like playing Snake 2, and I was like, wow, this is next generation gaming. And
it's actually like a snake now. It's not just these like squares that join together.
Exactly. I mean, and that will always stay with you from the replayability factor. That's true. But I mean, there's other probably more complex ones that I mentioned, like the Batman Arkham games. They'll always kind of pop up, the Grand Theft Autos, that type of stuff. Like there's ones that I'll just always go back to, and I suppose that is part of you. It's the nostalgia element, isn't it? Like,
and I think the other thing is like it's almost like being in the moment, like in the zeitgeist to a certain extent. Like your Elden Ring moment, and when everybody was playing Elden Ring. Like that was it. Everybody had to be playing it, and then you're all playing it together, and you're all discussing it, and you're being like that whole thing of experiencing it as a group of friends, and that kind of experience keeps that with you. I mean, I'd never play that again. I couldn't put myself through it again.
Yeah, I mean, you get in the zone though, don't you?
Yeah.
Like I've played through that game more times than I care to admit, but. I've did a few New Game Plus runs, and there was a time where I was practically speedrunning that game, like in the end, and it was fun. But I did try to revisit it. I think when I got the ROG, I bought it on Steam, and I thought, it'd be kind of cool to play that, but it wasn't quite up to scratch. I got used to playing it at like 60 frames a second and stuff like that. I couldn't quite get it there. I'm sure there's something I could do if I spent time, but no, you're right though. Like there's something there, like the zeitgeist is something, and that will stay with you. You know what I mean? Like that moment where everybody's jumping in and diving in and being part of the community. And it's like there's ones that kind of jump out more than others. Like,
but probably GTA 6 is going to be for better or for worse.
Yeah, but I mean, like it or lump it, I suppose. Like if somehow that they shit the bed in that game disappoints, and the only way I can see them doing that is if they lean too much into the Red Dead Redemption 2 aspect of it. Now, that was very polarizing. I personally thoroughly enjoyed it. In fact, I would say I loved it because it was like the simulation, but I accepted it's slower. They can't do that here. But that moment, like that week and the days after of that game launching, you're not going to be able to escape it. Although I do think there is one indie developer that's kind of launching their own open world game on the same day as GTA 6. It's almost like an alternative. I'm like, that's
Why not?
Brilliant strategy to get your game out there to more players. But you're right. I mean, I'm trying to think of other ones, even like console launches when they come out of the nostalgia. Like I'll always remember like Demon's Souls in the middle of the pandemic, or Assassin's Creed Black Flag. with the PlayStation 4 launch, I picked that up when I got it day one. And
it's like Rise on the Rome randomly for Xbox One.
A game I never played, but I see it in Game Pass all the time.
Thinking, I mean, that's one of those games I absolutely loved, but it's like a 6 out of 10. Like,
I
know
what you mean. Like, I suppose like there's ones that I don't even like, but they'll stay with me, like Killzone Shadowfall. You know what I mean? Like, I remember playing it going, I don't like this, but it looks cool. And there's nothing you'll kid yourself not on, or you'll never kid yourself on more than a console launch of like, this game's amazing, this is delivering everything. It's like, it's not really came that far. I'm trying to remember that as we head over the next 12 months, Alex, when it comes to, PlayStation 6s and Project Helixes coming at you left, right, and centre. But
we must resist.
We must resist. I still don't know. The only thing that's going to get me in there is if there's a handheld function. Because if PlayStation do that, we're both done. That's it. It's like, damn it.
I'm a handheld gamer. That's me.
Yeah, exactly. And it's insane, man. But I suppose the coming full circle back, right? It's the emotional moments really into it, that will stay with you. Like, video games are art, art because you can emotionally connect with it, I suppose. To tell a story, they're going to hit a nerve or just get you in that right moment. Like we had mentioned, it could be that lovely kind of fond memory that you have when you were younger. It could just be like something hitting you in the moment, or it could just be like, God of War Ragnarok with that wolf scene, for example, like The Last of Us opening. Like, it can just be emotional for the sake of it,
And it's even something I'm probably never really mentioned, but you kind of touched on. It's like the people you experience the games with as well can bring the emotion. It's like with Halo coming back out, I know I'm going to find that a wee bit emotional because the friend that I really associate that with isn't here anymore.
Yeah,
so it's things like that you're like, they just take you back to a period in your life where you were, and it's like even like PES 6. I just remember of like being at home after school. I'm sure it was 6, the one with Kalina in the front, wasn't it? That was 6, wasn't it? And we would all.
Kalina. That was.
No, that was 4. Was that 5?
4. It was on 3.
It was the yellow one.
4. Yellow one that was PES 6 with Adriano and John Terry.
Aye, so it was the yellow one. And we'd come back from school, or whether we were kind of around about that time, and we'd all be at my house, and we'd all be just playing PES, and you'd take the piss out of each other for different reasons, because some of you'd be good at it, some of you'd be bad at it, and then some of you'd get stressed while you were playing it, and you'd feel like, and it was just those kind of things really stick with you as much as, not so much the game yourself, but it's the game taking you. That game draws that whole time period of your life together.
Yeah. I mean, that's an excellent way to put it, man. Like, and there's watching a movie like, this week we'd lost Sam Neill, right? Devastated, right? So we silhouette of him just up there, probably you can see, right? I've got my Jurassic Park stuff, favourite movie all time. And it's like, I feel nostalgia at that. Still feel the same way I did as a kid watching that. But not with all of them, but games just have this, it's that cocktail of everything we've just went through. And it's something there can just trigger. And it's usually the people that you were playing with, you're right. Like that cousin I had mentioned, one of them, I'll play Gears of War and I'll just get taken back to playing co-op, with him like side by side. And it's like, this is hitting different, like it's not something I expected, and yet you're like that, I'm older now, and it's just not quite the same, but it still puts a smile on your face, and it'll always stay with you because that's why it becomes a favourite. And that's ultimately like the ones that you think about years later, they're ultimately they're all pieces of art for that. They'll just define moments in time for you, won't they? Like,
absolutely
vibe with you. They can even help you as well. Big advocate for that. I think games can be more than high scores and block breaking a lot of the time, and they're good for that. But, there's something that people get tattoos of. There's something that people like will put on their wall. They'll do other stuff, they'll have effigies, whatever it is, and it becomes part of you. And I think that's something that a lot of people who don't game probably don't really appreciate and understand. They still think that's just for kids, and it's like, no, this is something that's actually quite emotionally, intrinsically linked to who I am, at the end of the day, which is just pretty cool. But before I start getting all teary-eyed on us, Alex, anything else you want to add?
I was doing a good job of that myself, to be fair. But no, I think you're absolutely right. I think games transcend their media. Like, I don't think there's a better medium to tell a story or to create moments than a game. Like, it's just, that's why we love them. That's why we're here. Like, if we didn't believe that, we wouldn't be doing this.
It's true. Well said. And I think we'll end the main topic in that, but be keen to get people's thoughts as well. Is any games in particular stuck with yourself? Let us know in the comments. Or email us, tell us your wee stories. We'll be delighted to kind of talk that through on the show as well. But I'll move on. We've got a new segment in the way, but before I do, I need to remind everybody that Pixel Pix Replay, the game for this month, is Burnout 3 Takedown. So we'll have to find an alleged way to play that somehow. But for those unfamiliar, it's a video game book club. We're inviting all the viewers and listeners to join us and replay the top 100 video games of all time from the Pixel Pix list. New one each month that we're selecting at random, and we'll get together at the end of the month just to have a wee retrospective chat through on what we enjoyed on that one. Alex, I'm going to have to, definitely get in the spirit of piracy again. I said that last week, but I think I'm going to have to do that to get my hands on this one.
I don't think there's any other way. Like, I actually was looking to see if I wasn't sure whether that was on Vita or not, and it wasn't, because I'm like, I could maybe play that on Vita, but I think it was Paradise. It was actually on the Vita.
Oh, right, aye, that probably sounds about right.
So, yeah. Unfortunately,
emulation.
that wasn't an option, but I'll find a way.
Indeed. I think, I'm just going to have to go to the deepest, darkest recesses of the internet to get my hands on this one. But yeah, if you can, you want to join us, do so, and we'll just get together at the end of the month. But I did promise it's a new segment this week, which means, of course, that it's time for Gamer Court, which is the new segment where one of us is going to bring a gaming opinion to the stand. The other plays the judge and jury, and by the end, we're going to decide whether it's a fair take or a gaming crime. Alex, seeing this is the first week, right? We'll both go in the dock, right? We'll both go in the dock just so we can present our case. But Alex, let you go first. You're in the dock just now. Present your case, please. Present your case.
Right. I firmly believe that Xbox's biggest issue is that they were just ahead of their time.
Okay. I like that.
So, I mean, if you look at all the things that they've tried to do, like, they wanted to create your digital library so that you could share games digitally, going towards the launch of the Xbox One, and they were ridiculed for it.
Yeah.
If they announce that tomorrow or next week, which there's a high chance that they do, people are going to bite their hands off for it now because of the end of physical media. And they tried to do it 15 years ago or however many years ago that it was. And look at Kinect. Kinect came, Kinect went, but then you're sitting there going, like, basically there's a new version of Kinect. And it's amazing. Yeah. And it gets the whole family involved. And again, years and years ago, they tried to do this and it was laughed at and ridiculed. I mean, I'm not going to say all the other stuff that they haven't done is ahead of its time, but you never know. Yeah. But that's my bad take, and I don't expect it to stand.
Well, you know what? The court recognises the statement here. It's time for some cross-examination, but I suppose, we've got to judge here. There's a not guilty, a guilty, and a hung jury here.
No, I'll go back to it, but I forgot.
No, but I think, on the Kinect, we're going to start there, right? But it's true, interestingly, if you pick apart the amount of things that technology has been used for since then, it'll blow your mind. Go check it out on YouTube, and that would say certainly ahead of its time. I think you're right, in terms of all we can do is measure it against today. If you said that take maybe 6 weeks ago, that would be a different quote here. But you're right, they are probably going to do that. It's probably quickly identified as a quick win. We know Asha Sharma likes to put stuff into Copilot and get something back in the moment. It's like, what can I do to get them on side? But yeah, in the face, this bleak future that we're facing, all digital, we need something like that kind of disc to digital type game process that they're wanting to launch, and it is ahead of its time. And even things like everything's in Xbox, I think as well, that was ahead of its time, and we're probably going to look back at it when in the face of 1,500 quid consoles and go, maybe they were onto something.
But it's even to the fact, the point I missed is like when they wanted to have your everything as in your Xbox, they wanted to have their TV and all that, and it wasn't quite there. And if you look at how we use our consoles and stuff now, look when you could get a Sky TV app on it, and everyone jumped at that, and then you could get all your apps and your Netflix and everything in one place, which is what they kind of wanted to do then. They just went the wrong way about it, but the thinking was there. The ideology was there. So, they just got the timing wrong.
Okay. I mean, I think out of the three things in the verdict, not guilty, and hung jury here, where we can't agree. I'm afraid I'm going to have to say for the first one here, I'm going to have to say it's a not guilty verdict. It's a fair case that you've made there. So the Gamer Court, you've passed this one. Your bad text answer. Well done.
It's a good start.
It's a good start. Let's see if I can keep the streak going here. I'm in dock now, so my case.
We know that would never. We know there was no way that would have made it through if Scott Curry was here.
Oh God, man, he's going to be guilty week after week, man, with horrendous takes. We'll see. But I might. Oh, let's just see. Right, here's my case I present to you. Right, gamers are going to hate the future of shorter experiences and are going to feel ripped off when we get there. And allow me to elaborate, Judge. Right, we're complaining a lot about games being too long. We have done for a while now, but more than ever. And there's been a clamouring, more than ever, I would say, to make things shorter. The Miles Moralesification of games and how we release them. And when it happens, you're going to be paying the same or more for less. And I think you're going to be crying out for an Assassin's Creed Valhalla size experience. Like, I think this is all tied to the rising cost of stuff. And on paper, it's like, yep, give me smaller things more than often. But the only thing that won't get smaller is the price. And that's why I think when we face that future and you see what Xbox are doing now, moving the pieces in the chessboard, we're going to look back and go, actually, I preferred just paying the 70, 80 quid for something that was 100 odd hours instead of paying 70, 80 quid for something that's 10 to 15 multiple times a year.
But could you not just play that 10 to 15 hour game 10 times?
You could.
You could, like we used to do.
We did just to do it. But they were also 40, 50 pounds.
Inflation.
I know. But I do think we're going to get there. Listen, it's my camembert take here, right? It's a big stinky one.
I see where you're coming from. Like, I absolutely see where you're coming from. But at the same extent, like, I'm very much on the fence of, I want the 10, 15 hour game. I don't want the 100 hour game. So, like, personally, even if I was still playing that, if I got the same level of satisfaction, I would be quite happy. But I can also see where I think your argument holds up is the gamers that you hear about, they're going to talk about this, are going to moan about everything. Because that's the world that we live in.
Very true.
And it's the ones that moan that you hear about. So even if the majority of people are happy with this, you're still going to hear all the ones that aren't happy about it because they're going to be the ones that are going to take the platform.
Yes.
To take their moment to moan about whatever they want to moan about. So, I mean, I think from that perspective, I can't really argue with your argument, but I also at the same time don't think your argument holds up for most people. People just won't speak up so that are happy with what they're getting.
Yep. I mean, you've got three options here, Judge. You've got not guilty, you've got guilty, or you've got a hung jury if we can't agree.
A hung judge.
Okay.
I think I'd go hung jury here.
Okay. Well, we'll take that
because I can see where you're coming from, but I also strongly disagree.
Oh
personally.
Man, I love that. That's good. I like that. It's got a bit of texture to it, that decision. Good. So it means that we've left the door open still. We'll see how we get on next week. Door's still open for who's going to be the first guilty with the horrendous take on this, but maybe we'll just up the spice levels.
Aye, because they weren't horrendous. Neither of them were horrendous, I think.
Listen, we've been to Gamer Court. I probably got the closest to horrendous, but we made fair points there.
Wait till I go for Kojima.
Oh God, we'll bring it next week. We'll see what happens. But like I says, with that, Gamer Court is adjourned. If you've got a case you'd like us to hear, just send it our way, and it might just be on trial next week. But yeah, Alex, it's been a very delightful conversation this week. I've thoroughly enjoyed this one this week. I do it all weeks, but this has been something that I think is going to, like the games we talked about, stay with me for a wee bit. We're thinking about it, but it does bring us to an end to this week's podcast. So thank you once again for joining us. And remember, go support small independent games media out there. So if you did like what you hear, you enjoy the show, share with your pals on social media and leave us a wee 5-star review. Whatever you do, it makes a massive difference to us all. And you can go to your free Patreon community at patreon.com/pixelparents to support the show. Now it's test time. Now, Alex, where can our lovely listeners follow yourself and also all your antics at the Mimics Vale if they wish to do so?
You can find me largely That's not okay. You can find me mainly on alexsurvives.bsky.social. That's where you'll find most of my shit posting. And on the Mimics Vale, if you search for the Mimics Vale where you're listening to this, you will find us every Thursday.
Lovely. And I would add as well, if you're listening to us on Spotify, just go to the bottom. I've put a wee link in there so you can just get a link straight to the Mimics Vale and check out Alex and the boys on the show. Please do so, it's well worth your time. You can get me on Blue Sky at carmelite.bsky.social. Scott's probably, I don't even know. Yeah, I can't imagine. He's got time in his hands, man. So you can get him at lamaman.bsky.social. We'll just see what he's talking about.
Hiding in the loo.
Yeah, I think so. Probably thoughts on the toilet. Things like that. Need to give a big massive thank you to our producer music man, very talented and handsome Mr. Sean Murray. So go show him some love. Check out his work on Instagram at Barehands Designs and barehandsdesigns.com. And you can listen to the next episode on all major podcast platforms. Follow us on Blue Sky at pixelpaintings.bsky.social or even write to us at pixelpaintingspodcast@gmail.com. But wherever you are, like we always say, like, share, subscribe, and please play some damn games. But until next time, stay safe, stay sane, and thanks for listening. Play Element 2.